Picture this scene: a bustling city cafe, alive with a murmur of conversations, the clatter of ceramic, and the soft, incessant hum of digital devices. Every table seems occupied by individuals or groups, heads bowed, fingers flying across screens, locked into their own private digital worlds. Couples are meticulously posing for selfies, groups are animatedly dissecting the latest gossip, and a noticeable number of lone individuals are furiously swiping through dating apps, their faces a mixture of hope and weary expectation. Yet, in a quiet corner, sits a man entirely apart from this digital frenzy, undisturbed, his gaze occasionally drifting to the street outside, earbuds in, deeply absorbed in an audio book about ancient philosophy. He isn't scrolling, isn't posing, isn't seeking any external connection or distraction, and in that serene detachment, he embodies a profound and almost unsettling power. This man is not lonely. He is not desperate for interaction. He asks nothing of anyone in that room, and paradoxically, that makes him perhaps the most potent and quietly dangerous presence there. But why? Why does a man so comfortably inhabiting his own skin, utterly devoid of the gnawing hunger for constant external validation, capable of truly sitting with his own thoughts without needing to drown them out, why does such a person evoke an almost primal discomfort in the fabric of society? Hold that thought, because we are about to journey into a truth that might just shatter your preconceived notions about being alone, revealing a hidden strength that society has deliberately taught us to fear. The great societal deception surrounding solitude is a narrative woven so deeply into our collective consciousness that most people accept it without question. Here's a raw, unfiltered truth that few are willing to acknowledge. The very scaffolding of our modern social, economic, and even political systems is meticulously engineered to thrive on your perceived incompleteness and fundamental neediness. Consider the pervasive messaging that bombards us daily. Every meticulously crafted advertisement promising fulfillment through consumption. Every social media platform designed to addict you to fleeting validation. Every dating app perpetually suggesting you are half a whole. Every self-help guru, often inadvertently, reinforcing the idea that your personal journey requires constant external input or connection. They all operate from one core, insidious assumption: you are inherently insufficient, inherently lacking, unless you are connected, networking, belonging, or seeking something from beyond yourself. Find your soulmate, the billboards scream. Build your network, the seminars echo. You need community to be happy, the conventional wisdom insists. This isn't just advice, it's a foundational belief designed to keep you tethered to the system. But what if this entire premise is a carefully constructed illusion? What if the man in the coffee shop, radiating a quiet contentment in his own company, represents a form of self-sufficiency so profoundly threatening to this established social order that we have collectively, almost subconsciously, agreed to brand him with pejoratives like lonely, antisocial, weird, or even sad? What if these labels are not accurate descriptions of his inner state, but rather defensive projections from a society that simply doesn't understand, or worse, fears, the radical autonomy he represents? My journey into this subject has unveiled a crucial distinction. Society does not genuinely fear the individual who is incapable of being alone, for that person is easily managed, predictable, and compliant. No, society reserves its deepest, most visceral fear for the man who doesn't need to be with anyone, the one who finds a completeness within himself, rendering him immune to the very levers of control that operate on the rest of us. This self-contained individual, this sovereign self, is truly the greatest threat to a world built on interdependence and the subtle art of manipulation. When profound philosophy becomes your impenetrable armor, you begin to see the world with an unnerving clarity. Let me introduce you to two towering figures, separated by millennia, yet united by their radical understanding of this dangerous truth. Friedrich Nietzsche, the fierce German philosopher whose ideas scorched through the intellectual landscape, and Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor whose private thought became a timeless guide to stoic virtue. Marcus Aurelius, wielding more raw power than almost any human in history, the undisputed ruler of the ancient world's most formidable empire, meticulously chronicled in his private journal profound insight: all cruelty springs from weakness. This was a man who commanded legions, whose word could reshape continents, who had endless avenues for distraction and external affirmation. Yet, he deliberately chose to spend his evenings in quiet solitude, penning his deeply introspective meditations, relentlessly questioning his own motives, actions, and the fleeting nature of existence itself. His power wasn't in his external dominion, but in his unshakable internal fortress. Centuries later, the incandescent and often controversial Nietzsche, whose ideas explored the very bedrock of human values, even as his own mind tragically unraveled, declared with chilling prescience, the individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. Both of these extraordinary men, from vastly different contexts, arrive at a similar, profoundly unsettling revelation that society has painstakingly tried to bury. The individual who possesses the unwavering capacity to be utterly alone with their own thoughts is, by definition, the person most capable of thinking for themselves. And in any system, whether ancient empire or modern democracy, thinking for yourself, truly and unapologetically, is an act of rebellion so fundamental, so destabilizing, that it is considered dangerous as hell. This self-reliance on internal wisdom rather than external decree is a philosophical bedrock of true freedom, and consequently, a direct challenge to any authority. Now, let's peel back the layers and delve into the intricate psychological architecture of what truly defines a so-called dangerous loner, the individual who consciously and confidently chooses solitude over the relentless pursuit of social validation. This isn't about shyness or social anxiety. It's a deliberate, empowered choice. First, and perhaps most crucially, they have fundamentally broken free from the insidious grip of approval addiction. While the vast majority of humanity is engaged in an almost frantic, never-ending cycle of posting, liking, commenting, and perpetually seeking that ephemeral dopamine hit from social media interactions or external praise, the individual who embraces dangerous solitude has unearthed something infinitely more robust and sustainable, a profound, self-respecting sense of worth that is entirely independent of any external metric or judgment. Their value is not negotiated in the marketplace of public opinion. Second, they have cultivated an extraordinary capacity to sit with discomfort, particularly the discomfort of their own unfiltered thoughts. Observe the average person today. They cannot endure 5 minutes of unadulterated silence without an almost involuntary reflex to reach for their phone, to distract themselves with an endless scroll, a podcast, or any form of external noise. Why this frantic aversion to quiet? Because through silence, the profound inner stillness acts like a mirror, mercilessly reflecting who we truly are, revealing our raw, unvarnished self. And for many, the reflection they encounter in that silence is deeply uncomfortable, perhaps even terrifying. But the dangerous loner? They have not merely tolerated this discomfort, they have befriended their inner demons, turning introspection into a forge of resilience. They've engaged in those challenging, often sleepless 3 a.m. conversations with their innermost fears, their deepest insecurities, their most painful failures. They have wrestled with their own shadows in the quiet arena of their mind, and through this arduous process of self-confrontation, they have emerged not unscathed, but undeniably stronger, wiser, and more integrated. This journey makes them formidable because they know themselves intimately. Third, and this is the linchpin, they are virtually impervious to manipulation. This characteristic alone makes them an anomaly in a world built on subtle forms of control. When your sense of worth, your emotional equilibrium, and your core identity do not depend on the approval or acceptance of others, the traditional levers of social power become utterly impotent. You cannot be controlled by the ever-present threat of rejection because rejection does not diminish your internal sense of value. You cannot be bought off with promises of popularity or status because those external trinkets hold no intrinsic appeal. You cannot be silenced by social pressure or the fear of ostracism because your internal compass is your sole guide. The man who needs nothing from others is a man who can be coerced by nothing others possess or threaten to withhold. He becomes an unmovable object in a world of easily swayed individuals, a truly dangerous proposition for anyone seeking to control the masses. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the busiest and most powerful man of his era, understood that true strength was forged not in the clamor of the Senate or on the battlefield, but in the quiet crucible of the mind. He cultivated a deeply personal, remarkably prescient practice that would strike many modern individuals as eccentric, perhaps even unnecessary, every single evening. Without fail, he would meticulously dedicate time to solitary reflection. This wasn't merely journaling. It was a rigorous, deliberate form of mental training. He would systematically review his day, pouring his thoughts onto parchment, engaging in what the Stoics call the discipline of desire and the discipline of assent. He wouldn't just recount events. He would probe them with incisive questions. What did I desperately want today that I genuinely did not need, and how did that desire sway me? What did I fear or fret over that was ultimately entirely outside the sphere of my control, and how did that fear diminish my peace? In what instances did I compromise my deeply held values or personal integrity purely to garner approval, acceptance, or avoid friction from others? This wasn't some indulgent navel-gazing. It was the psychological equivalent of an elite athlete training for peak performance. Marcus was systematically building profound psychological muscle, meticulously honing his ability to distinguish between what was truly essential and what was merely superficial, between what was within his power and what was not, between his authentic self and the self he might present for external approval. He understood, with profound clarity, that the individual who undertakes this arduous journey of deep self-knowledge, who unflinchingly examines their own motivations, fears, and biases in the stark light of solitude, cannot be easily deceived or manipulated by the shallow games that lesser men play. When you have spent countless hours in the profound quiet of your own mind, diligently examining the contours of your shadow, unflinchingly facing your own imperfections and contradictions, the opinions, judgments, and covert attempt at manipulation from other people lose their potent sting. Their social maneuvers become transparent, their attempt to sway you become utterly predictable, and their petty games simply become profoundly, uninterestingly boring. You transcend the need for external validation, and in doing so, you become truly dangerous because you become truly, irrevocably free. Nietzsche, with his characteristic intellectual ferocity, took this concept of self-mastery even further, positing a radical notion that continues to unsettle society. The truly dangerous individual is not merely one who thinks for themselves, but one who courageously creates their asterisk on asterisk values, rather than passively inheriting them from prevailing social currents. The vast majority of people, he argued, meander through life operating under a moral code they have never consciously chosen, a patchwork quilt of beliefs stitched together from parental upbringing, peer pressure, cultural norms, religious doctrines, and media narratives. They believe what they believe because their families believed it, their friends affirm it, their culture champions it. In essence, they are living a life largely dictated by someone else's script, navigating the world with borrowed convictions. But the person who commits to prolonged, intentional solitude, the one who dares to retreat from the cacophony of collective opinion and engage in deep introspection, they invariably begin to ask profoundly uncomfortable, even subversive questions. Why do I hold this particular belief? What is its origin? Is it truly mine, or merely a hand-me-down? Who genuinely benefits from my adherence to this belief system? Does it serve my higher self, or an external agenda? If I were to strip away all inherited assumptions, all societal programming, and start from the absolute bedrock of my own reason and experience, what moral code, what values would I authentically construct for myself? This is precisely where the true danger emerges. Because once you embark on this journey of radical self-creation, once you truly begin to think for yourself and forge your own values, you cease to be predictable. You shed the convenient mantle of controllability. You stop being the docile, unthinking consumer who unquestioningly buys what they are told to buy, votes precisely as they are instructed to vote, and lives out a pre-packaged existence prescribed by the status quo. You become an unpredictable force, an original, a sovereign entity, and that, in the eyes of any system that thrives on conformity, is the most profound threat imaginable. It's absolutely critical here that we draw a brutally honest, unequivocal distinction between two vastly different states of being that society has deliberately conflated for its own benefit: loneliness and solitude. Loneliness, in its essence, is a state of profound lack. It is that aching, hollow feeling, an internal void that whispers of incompleteness, a desperate longing for external connection to fill a perceived deficit within oneself. It's a sensation that something fundamental is missing, and that only others can provide it. A lonely person feels fragmented, isolated, and often powerless. Solitude, conversely, is a state of profound wholeness, a deliberate and empowering choice. It is a cultivated ability to be utterly complete within your own self, to genuinely relish your own company, to discover an abiding peace and even profound joy in the quietude of silence. A person who embraces solitude does not feel a void. They feel a reservoir of internal resources. They are not escaping. They are engaging. Our modern society, with its relentless emphasis on hyperconnectivity and external validation, has not merely confused these two states. It has actively blurred the lines, deliberately conflated them, precisely because this confusion serves its deeply ingrained agendas. A lonely person, by their very nature, is a perfect, malleable consumer. They will instinctively seek external remedies to alleviate their internal discomfort. They will purchase products that promise happiness, validation, or belonging. They will chase fleeting social media likes as a balm for their insecurity. They will remain distracted, malleable, and compliant, perpetually looking outside themselves for solutions. But a person who consciously chooses and deeply enjoys solitude, they are fundamentally different. They are not easily swayed by superficial advertising because their contentment is internally sourced. They are not seeking validation from the external world because their self-worth is already solidified. They are not distracted by the endless noise because they value deep thought. They are, in a word, thinking. And thinking people who question, people who reflect, people who forge their own paths, are profoundly dangerous to any system built upon thoughtless compliance and superficial consumption. After years of immersing myself in the profound wisdom of both Marcus Aurelius and Nietzsche, meticulously dissecting their insights into self-mastery and independent thought, I have synthesized four fundamental pillars that collectively transform male aloneness into truly dangerous solitude. These aren't just abstract concepts, they are actionable principles that, when embodied, make an individual incredibly resilient, discerning, and ultimately unconquerable by external pressures. The first pillar is *** radical self-honesty ***. This is the unwavering commitment to an unflinching, often brutal, assessment of one's own internal landscape. The individual who cultivates dangerous solitude has rigorously trained themselves to be utterly honest about their true motivations, their deepest fears, their most secret desires, and their most glaring weaknesses. They possess a rare and potent ability to look inward without flinching, to acknowledge their shortcomings without self-deception, and to understand their true drivers without rationalization. They do not lie to themselves to create a more palatable self-image. They confront reality head-on, no matter how uncomfortable. This makes them dangerous because this cultivated ability to discern truth within themselves extends outward. They develop an almost uncanny knack for spotting lies, hypocrisy, and manipulative intentions in others. They can see through carefully constructed facades, charming words, and elaborate social performances because they are so intimately familiar with the raw, unvarnished truth of human nature, starting with their own. They simply cannot be fooled by superficiality. The second pillar is *** value independence ***. This person has undergone the arduous, exhilarating process of developing their own comprehensive moral code, a deeply personal ethical framework built not on the shifting sands of social pressure, fleeting trends, or inherited traditions, but on the bedrock of their own reason, extensive personal experience, and deeply considered principles. This does not, by any means, imply that they are moral or nihilistic. Quite the opposite. Often, their internal compass leads them to a morality that is more profound, more consistent, and more deeply integrated than that of the average individual who merely adheres to external rules. Their sense of right and wrong emanates from an internal source, an unshakable inner conviction, rather than from external authority figures or the fear of societal disapproval. This makes them dangerous because they are fundamentally immune to control through shame or guilt. You cannot manipulate someone with the threat of social ostracism or the accusation of nonconformity if their actions are dictated by their own internal code of honor. They will do what they believe is inherently right, regardless of what the crowd thinks, says, or demands. The third pillar is *** emotional self-sufficiency ***. This is the hard-won ability to regulate one's own emotional landscape, to be the primary architect of one's inner peace and well-being, rather than being a slave to external circumstances or the whims of others. The individual embracing dangerous solitude has learned to cultivate their own emotional resilience, to find solace and strength within themselves, rather than constantly seeking external sources for validation, comfort, or happiness. They have developed a robust internal support system, becoming their own most reliable source of strength and solace. This makes them profoundly dangerous because they cannot be emotionally manipulated. They do not need your approval to feel good about themselves. Your love, your acceptance, your praise, or your presence are welcomed additions, cherished gifts, but never necessities upon which their fundamental well-being depends. They are not beholden to your emotional economy. Their emotional reserves are self-generated, making them incredibly difficult to destabilize or control through emotional leverage. Finally, the fourth pillar is *** intellectual courage ***. This is a resolute willingness to embark upon intellectual journeys that others actively avoid, to think thoughts that challenge deeply ingrained dogmas, and to relentlessly question belief that the vast majority of society takes for granted as sacrosanct truths. It is the unyielding commitment to follow the evidence wherever it may lead, even if that path is profoundly uncomfortable, unpopular, or isolating. The individual with intellectual courage is not afraid to stand against the prevailing narrative, to dissect popular opinions, or to expose inconvenient truths. This makes them dangerous because they cannot be silenced by social pressure, the fear of ridicule, or the threat of academic or professional ostracism. They will speak uncomfortable truths, articulate unpopular perspectives, and champion inconvenient realities, even when doing so comes at a significant social, professional, or personal cost. Their commitment to truth and independent thought outweighs a desire for comfort or acceptance. Let's be unequivocally clear. Choosing this path of radical independence and cultivating dangerous solitude is by no means an easy road. It comes with its own distinct and often challenging price. The first thing you will encounter is widespread misunderstanding. People, accustomed to the conventional dance of social interaction and validation seeking, will struggle to comprehend your motivations. They will readily label you as antisocial, arrogant, aloof, or just plain weird. They will, perhaps with well-meaning but ultimately misguided intentions, try to pathologize your genuine preference for quiet introspection and your comfort in your own company, viewing it as some form of deficiency or a problem to be fixed. You will, at times, experience a profound sense of isolation, distinct from loneliness. Loneliness is a pain of wanting connection and not having it. Isolation is a realization that you exist on a different wavelength of consciousness than most, that your priorities and internal world are fundamentally different. This isn't a feeling of lack, but rather the quiet awareness of a cognitive and emotional distance, and sometimes that can feel like a unique kind of weight. Furthermore, you will inevitably lose some relationships along this journey. Individuals who have invested heavily in your former neediness, who perhaps derived a sense of purpose or superiority from your reliance on them, will be profoundly threatened by your newfound independence. Some friendships, built on the shifting sands of mutual dependency, will simply fade away as your needs change and your self-sufficiency grows. Even some family members, accustomed to a particular version of you, may feel uncomfortable, even unnerved, by your profound personal growth and your refusal to conform to their expectations. Your evolution will inadvertently highlight their own stagnation, and that can be a challenging mirror for them to face. Finally, you will face relentless, pervasive pressure to conform. Society, in its vast, intricate machinery, is perpetually geared towards pulling you back into the herd, towards reintegrating you into the collective consciousness. There will be both subtle and overt pressures, from media narratives, social expectations, cultural norms, and even the well-intentioned prodding of loved ones to be more social, more normal, more like everyone else. The gravitational pull of conformity is immense and constant. But here's a critical insight. The price of conformity, while superficially less painful in the short term, is immeasurably higher in the long run. The price of conformity, the cost of sacrificing your authentic self for the sake of fitting in, is nothing less than the slow, agonizing erosion of your very soul. It is a quiet death of your originality, your unique perspective, your independent spirit, and that is a price no truly free individual is willing to pay. Let's delve deeper into the fundamental question. Why does the self-sufficient individual, the man who doesn't need anyone, pose such an existential threat to society's established order? The fear is multifaceted, deeply rooted, and extends across economic, social, political, and psychological dimensions. Consider the *** economic reasons ***. Our entire global economy, particularly in consumer-driven societies, is meticulously structured around the principle of artificial scarcity and engineered desire. It thrives on convincing people that they are incomplete, inadequate, or somehow deficient without the latest gadget, the trendiest fashion, or the most aspirational lifestyle. It's built on people constantly buying things they don't truly need, often to impress people they don't genuinely like or to fill an inner void. A person who is genuinely content with themselves, who finds their satisfaction internally, who isn't seeking external validation through material possessions, is simply not a good consumer. They are immune to the siren song of advertising. They don't chase fleeting trends. They don't accumulate possessions for status. Their needs are simpler, their desires fewer, and their economic footprint is minimal in terms of discretionary spending. This makes them a dangerous anomaly in a system designed for perpetual consumption. They represent a flaw in the matrix, a non-participant in the economic game. Then there are the social reasons ***. Most social hierarchies, from high school cliques to corporate ladders to celebrity culture, operate on a finely tuned system of status, approval, and perceived importance. People invest immense emotional energy into gaining social currency, fitting in, climbing the ladder, and being perceived in a favorable light. This obsession with status makes them predictable and controllable. They can be motivated by promises of promotion, fear of demotion, or the desire for public acclaim. But if you fundamentally do not care about status, if your sense of worth is unassailable and derived from within, then you become an utterly unpredictable element in the social equation. You cannot be controlled by the threat of social demotion or the lure of social advancement. You operate outside the established pecking order, rendering the traditional social levers of power utterly impotent against you. You become a wild card, a free radical in a meticulously structured social organism. From an *** political standpoint, the threat is equally significant. Democratic systems, while ostensibly designed for individual freedom, often rely on a populace that can be swayed, influenced, and managed by popular opinion, media narratives, and carefully crafted political messaging. Political campaigns invest billions in understanding and manipulating public sentiment. If you are an individual who thinks for yourself, who questions narratives, who refuses to accept information at face value, and who ground your beliefs in independent reason and experience rather than collective sentiment, you become incredibly difficult to manipulate politically. You are not easily swayed by demagoguery, propaganda, or the emotional appeals of tribalism. You vote based on principle and diligent research, not on peer pressure or catchy slogans. This makes you a problematic citizen for any political system that seeks to maintain control through consensus or manufactured consent. Finally, and perhaps most profoundly, there are deep psychological reasons for society's discomfort with a self-sufficient individual. Your radiant independence, your quiet contentment, and your unshakable self-reliance serve as an uncomfortable, often confrontational mirror for those around you. Your freedom subtly but powerfully highlights their own dependence, their quiet desperation for external approval, and their fundamental lack of internal peace. Your contentment inadvertently casts a harsh light on their own deep-seated discontent, their restless striving, and their perpetual pursuit of fleeting external gratifications. Your visible embrace of inner liberty makes the bars of their own self-imposed psychological cage all the more starkly visible. This isn't about malicious intent. It's a subconscious, almost instinctual reaction. Your autonomy implicitly challenges their choices, their perceived limitations, and the very narratives they are constructed to justify their own compromises. This psychological discomfort often manifests as resentment, projection, or a desperate attempt to diminish your independence by labeling it as something negative. So, how does one embark on this journey? How do you become dangerous in the most profoundly positive and liberating sense of the word? How do you cultivate the kind of solitude that leads to radical freedom and inner strength, rather than an isolating detachment? It is a gradual, deliberate practice, a weaving of ancient wisdom into the tapestry of modern life. Begin with ***, small, intentional doses of distraction-free solitude ***. In a world saturated with noise and digital demands, this is a revolutionary act. Start by setting aside just 10 minutes each day, perhaps first thing in the morning or last thing before bed. During this time, remove all distractions. No phone, no music, no podcasts, no television, no books, no external input whatsoever. Just you, in a quiet space, with your own thoughts. Initially, this might feel incredibly uncomfortable, even boring. Resist the urge to fill the void. Simply observe your thoughts, your feelings, your urges. Gradually, as you grow accustomed to it, extend this period. This is where you begin to reclaim your inner territory, to listen to the whisper of your own mind. Next, Consciously practice the evening review, much like Marcus Aurelius Before you retire each night, dedicate a brief, focused period to reflecting on the day that has just passed. This isn't a passive recap, it's an active interrogation. Ask yourself searching questions. What actions did I take today that genuinely align with my highest values and intentions? Where did I fall short, and what lessons can I extract from those moments of imperfection or failure? What new insights did I gain about myself, about others, or about the world? In what instances did I seek external validation, and at what cost? This consistent, honest self-assessment builds crucial self-awareness and fortifies your internal compass. Following Nietzsche's relentless pursuit of truth, make it a regular practice to question your beliefs, Do not accept ideas, ideologies, or moral frameworks simply because they are popular, traditional, or comfortable. Challenge the narratives you've inherited. Ask why, constantly. Why do I believe this about success? About relationships? About happiness? About politics? Trace the origins of your convictions. Are they truly yours, forged in the crucible of your own reason and experience, or are they mere echoes of external voices? This process of intellectual excavation is both liberating and empowering. From this process of rigorous self-examination, begin to actively develop your own moral code, This is not about anarchy or moral relativism, but about conscious, intentional ethics, based on your deepest insights, your reasoned conclusions, and your lived experience. Determine what kind of person you genuinely aspire to be. What principles will guide your actions, regardless of external pressure or popular opinion? What values will you uphold, even when it's inconvenient or unpopular? This internal framework becomes your unwavering anchor in a chaotic world, the ultimate source of your integrity and self-respect. Crucially, learn to genuinely enjoy your own company, This moves beyond merely tolerating solitude to actively embracing it as a source of joy and replenishment. Discover and cultivate activities that you genuinely love doing alone. Perhaps it's deep reading, lost in the pages of a profound book, long, contemplative walks in nature, observing the world around you, dedicated time for creative pursuits like writing, painting, composing, or building, or simply periods of quiet reflection and meditation. Build a rich, vibrant inner life, a sanctuary of thought and experience that is entirely your own. The more robust your inner world, the less you will ever feel the need to escape it. Finally, and perhaps the most challenging step in this journey, is the radical act of stopping the incessant search for external validation This means consciously disengaging from the chase for approval from others. It means letting go of the need for likes, comments, social status, and external praise to define your worth. Understand that your value is intrinsic, innate, and not up for negotiation in the marketplace of public opinion. This is an ongoing process of inner reprogramming, a consistent redirection of your energy from outward seeking to inward cultivation. Find your profound sense of worth, your unshakable dignity, and your quiet confidence entirely within yourself. This is the ultimate act of self-sovereignty. Here lies the exquisite paradox, the beautiful irony of dangerous solitude. The individual who genuinely cultivates self-sufficiency, the person who arrives at a place where they no longer need others for their sense of completeness, paradoxically becomes the most profoundly attractive to others. When you are whole and self-contained, when you radiate an inner peace that doesn't demand anything from the outside world, when you are not needy, desperate, or constantly seeking external affirmation, an inherent magnetism emanates from you. People are instinctively drawn to that kind of centered, calm, and powerful energy. There is something deeply appealing about a person who is comfortable in their own skin, who isn't playing social games, and who stands firmly on their own ground. But here is the absolutely crucial distinction, the very heart of the paradox. You are not embarking on this journey of self-mastery and solitude to attract others. Your motivation is purely internal, driven by a profound understanding that this is the most authentic, resilient, and virtuous way to live your life. The attraction, the improved relationships, the deeper connections, these are merely serendipitous byproducts, welcome consequences of your radical self-transformation, not the primary goal. Your focus is on becoming the best, most sovereign version of yourself, and the world naturally responds to that. The impact of this transformation extends into every facet of your life. Your relationships, for instance, undergo a profound metamorphosis. When you choose to be with someone not out of a desperate need to fill a void, but because you genuinely want their company, because you value them as an individual who enhances your already complete existence, the relationship becomes infinitely healthier, more authentic, and more robust. There is no clinging, no emotional blackmail, no hidden agendas, just genuine connection. Friendships deepen when they are optional, chosen freely rather than entered into out of loneliness or convenience. When you are friends with someone purely because you genuinely enjoy their unique presence, their conversation, their shared experiences, and not because you're afraid of being alone, those friendships become richer, more meaningful, and build on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine affection. Even your professional life experiences a shift. When you are not desperate for the approval of your boss, your colleagues, or external accolades, you are liberated to focus purely on the intrinsic value of your work. You can dedicate yourself to doing good work for its own sake, for the joy of creation, for the pursuit of excellence, rather than for the fleeting praise or the next promotion. This focus often leads to higher quality output and a deeper sense of professional satisfaction. And ultimately, life itself becomes immeasurably more meaningful. When you are no longer trapped in the relentless pursuit of external validation, constantly chasing fleeting moments of external approval, you free up an immense amount of mental and emotional energy. This newfound capacity allows you to focus on what truly, deeply matters to you, your core values, your passions, your contributions, and your authentic purpose. Your life is no longer dictated by others' expectations, but by your own profoundly chosen path. So, here is my direct, unfiltered challenge to you, a call to arms for the modern individual. Become dangerous. Not dangerous in the destructive sense, not in a way that harms others or seeks to dominate. No, become dangerous in profound, liberating sense of being fundamentally impossible to control, impossible to manipulate. Become dangerous in the sense of thinking for yourself, rigorously and without compromise, refusing to accept inherited truths or popular narratives without scrutiny. Become dangerous in the sense of being utterly complete within yourself, your internal well-being rooted so deeply that no external force can destabilize it. Become dangerous in the sense of forging your own values, charting your own moral course, and drawing from your own inexhaustible source of inner strength. The world, in its current state, desperately needs more individuals who cannot be bought by promises of fleeting pleasure or material gain. It needs more people who cannot be manipulated by fear, by social pressure, or by the threat of rejection. It needs more voices that cannot be silenced by the clamor of conformity or the disapproval of the crowd. The world hungers for more people who are genuinely comfortable in their own skin, who derive their self-worth from within, who don't require a constant stream of external validation to feel whole. It needs more individuals who possess the courage and capacity to sit with their own thoughts, to confront their inner landscape, and to cultivate a rich, vibrant inner life without constantly needing to escape into external distraction. The world, in its deepest longing, needs more people who are truly dangerous. Dangerous to apathy, dangerous to conformity, dangerous to superficiality, and dangerous to any system that seeks to diminish human potential for the sake of control. If this message resonated deep within your core, if it struck a chord that reverberated through your chest with the force of an undeniable truth, much like it did for me when I first truly grasped its implications, then I ask you for a favor. Share this video with someone you instinctively know needs to hear it, someone who is ready for this awakening. Your sharing helps the algorithm understand that content of this depth and substance truly matters, ensuring it reaches more receptive minds. And please, drop a comment below and engage with this idea. Tell me, what is one long-held belief you've been carrying that you now realize you never truly chose for yourself? What is one specific area of your life where you've been instinctively seeking validation from others instead of diligently cultivating that unshakable self-respect within? And always remember this, my friends, because it is the ultimate act of rebellion in an increasingly crowded and conformist world. The most radical, most powerful act of all is learning to stand alone, anchored in your own truth. Stay dangerous, my friends.